It's another water cooler
Water Cooler
Wednesday.
Wednesday, your midweek fix for real talk about real estate.
Yes. So,
Hopefully,
So,
everybody out there in YouTube land is doing well today. Keeping cool. Before we get started, I want to share something. So, today, my air conditioner went off, stopped blowing. So I'm, going on YouTube trying to figure out what happened. Um, looking at these different videos and stuff like that. I went down there. There's something you pull out the wall. Well, not really the wall. It's like the side of the house. I pulled that out, make sure the fuse is together. I went down, make sure we hadn't tripped the fuse in the basement. Looking at the fan not blowing, the thing is on correctly on the thermostat. I'm like, well, man, what's going on? So I switched. Because I'm not good about this. I'm still not good about this. I'm just gonna say that. So I swapped out my what's the thing?
your
Your
filter.
furnace filter. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I swapped out my filter today. I was like, okay, I got a brand new filter. We should be good now. Turn it back on. Still nothing happened. Switch the temperature and stuff. Still nothing happened. Went downstairs, girl, and guess what?
What?
Somebody had turned off the switch.
Well, that sounds very similar to my Sunday, but everywhere I went Sunday, there was no air conditioning.
Ooh.
So we did a final walkthrough, no air.
Oh my goodness.
I did a whole open house. I got
with no air conditioning?
It was 98 degrees in the house.
Ooh.
By the time I left, it was 89 degrees.
Wow.
I wanted to cry.
You out there in the real estate streets.
Exactly. I'm like, no, there's no reason to do an open house with no air conditioning. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Hey, but you know what? Today, that's not what we're here to talk about. Today, we're here to talk about if you should rent or own, right? So, we're going to discuss the pros and cons of renting versus owning. Share some information with you. We're kind of prejudiced on this topic. I'm just gonna give you a disclaimer, right? That's why I do it.
Right.
We're sharing information with you, but we're really prejudiced about it.
Yeah, we really are kind of have our minds made up as to what you should do. Yeah.
Right. So, but anyway, we're still gonna share with you some pros. Okay, so let's talk about some pros from renting. I don't know if there's any, but let's see.
Well, before we get to that, though, I would like to introduce myself. I am Lisa, the lender with Nexa Mortgage, where brokers are better. We are here to serve all of your financing needs for mortgages and real estate investment. And of course, my lovely host today is
Dion Branch with Allure Dreams Home, brokered by EXP. So definitely here to hold your hand throughout the whole home buying process.
I love
it. But it's okay. That's okay. Let's talk about some pros as far as renting. Right. So there is a lot of people feel stressed when they go through purchasing a home. And so some people may already have a home and then they have to sell their home to find a new home. So, but hey, the flexibility in moving as a renter is a lot easier because pretty much you just tell the landlord that you're leaving and then you go find you a new place. Mm-hmm. So it's very flexible, right?
True.
Yeah, yeah. So the other thing is another pro is you have maintenance. There's little maintenance that you have to actually responsibility that you have to take on as
Yeah.
being a homeowner. Like Lisa was just talking about the furnace and the little thingy, which was her filter, right? Right. But it was definitely those are things that you have to learn and educate yourself about when you are
Yeah.
a homeowner. So, as a renter, a pro is that you can just call your landlord, and your landlord can take care of some of those issues that you may have.
Yeah. Send out the maintenance guy. What was the guy's name on Three's Company? The maintenance guy. You remember?
I remember, but I don't know. I
I
don't.
remember what he looked like. I can't
I
remember his
remember right.
name though.
We dating ourselves, so I just want.
Okay.
Cause they're like threes. Who?
Right.
Yeah,
We what? Three, two,
yeah,
what? And I would say some other pros as far as renting would be that sometimes it's cheaper upfront costs, because when you get ready to buy a home, you do have to be prepared for your down payment, property taxes, closing costs, things like that. So the cost that you would have to pay upfront will be a lot less expensive if you're considering the route of renting. You don't have to be concerned about the upfront cost. It's not as much. And then another thing is if you're in a transitional period, you only plan to be a certain place for a certain amount of time, it's going to be short-term living or something like that, then it might be better to rent
yeah.
instead of buying a home. That might be the best thing for you to do at that point.
All right, maybe you think about relocating or something like that, so you wanna.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, so I mean, those are some good pros as far as renting is concerned.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what's some cons? What's some cons? You want me to go first?
Yeah, why don't you?
All right, all right, all right, all right. So, one of the cons that we talk about all the time, as far as being a renter, is that you're building wealth for the landlord,
That
right?
you
So, you're paying the rent, you're paying his mortgage.
mm-hmm.
So, if you're thinking about purchasing, you might as well pay your own mortgage instead of giving it to the landlord, right?
Yep. Yep, that's true. So
Yeah,
that's definitely a con.
definitely a con. Another con is that your rent can increase yearly, right? So the landlord determines what your rent is. And so he can decide. I mean, I think we just seen this last year or the year
In the
before. Like,
last few years, yeah.
yes, like a lot of the landlords have like drastically increased their rent. And so with with purchasing a home, you normally would have a fixed mortgage rate. And so the shifting of the monthly would not happen. So,
Right.
mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as far as the rent increasing, there's really not a whole lot you can do about it, though. I mean, it could happen at any point in time for no rhyme or reason. They could say they're redoing things in the building. I've seen it happen where the landlord says, "Oh, we're renovating, the building." They kick people out.
Yeah.
And then all they do is either replace appliances or paint, or something like that. And then they bring new renters in with the increase in rent.
With the increase, right? A lot of
Mhm.
neighborhoods are going through a change, and the landlord wants to take advantage of that.
Yep. It's not necessarily that their costs have gone up, because sometimes that is the case. Don't get me wrong. As business owners do still have costs that they have to incur. It's like, it's the price you pay for running a business. But that isn't always the case.
Yeah,
Sometimes people just, oh well, down the street they charging 2,300 for rent. I'm a charge. They were charging 18, now they decide to charge 2,100 because they know that the somebody in the market will pay it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, and it's really not a whole lot you can do about that if they increase it. I mean, well, I guess you can move,
Right. So
or you
you
can
have
buy
to
a
find
house. But I'm not
right.
going to talk about that right now. But the other thing is, there's no real tax benefits when you rent. You don't really get, depending on who's in office, of course, there are going to be certain things that you can deduct to decrease your income tax liability. And you don't really have that option with rent. So you don't get a tax benefit at all. And then the other thing is that you don't really get the benefit of appreciation. So, for those who don't really know or understand what that term means, when we think about real estate, we always factor in appreciation because 9 times out of 10, unless there's an unusual occurrence within a particular area where the real estate is located, the property is going to increase in value. That's
Hmm.
typically how it goes. You buy it, like I bought this house, in 2019. I think I bought for around 200. I think it was like 200, maybe 205, somewhere. It was right around the 200 mark, right? Um, Now this is 2025. The value of my home is over 300,000.
Yeah.
So, and that's what's supposed to happen. I mean, normally it wouldn't go up $100,000. Obviously we
Yeah.
had the pandemic, so that contributed to the
Yeah.
increase in the equity in the house. But just typically, I think it's like 5%. I got to look up that. I need to memorize that statistic, but there is a statistic for it. I think it's like 5% equity appreciation every so many years in real estate. That's just typical. That's just typically what happens. So you don't get to take advantage of any of that when you're
Yeah.
renting. Because there's no equity that you can tap into because you don't have any ownership rights.
Right. So, because even with your equity in your property, say for instance, you need some additional cash, or you want to do some updates to your home, you could always get a equity loan, or you can like refinance your home.
Yeah.
And in a case like Lisa is saying, she has so much equity in her home, she could decide that she wants to, like redo her basement if she had a basement or something.
I
And
do have a basement.
right. And be able to actually take that equity from the home and actually get a loan and make, do the repairs or do the construction that she wants to do. So
Yeah.
it's really, it, it's it's a pro. It's a pro for but it's a con for you renters.
For
It's
renting, yeah.
right. Con. So that's definitely something that you want to consider while when you're considering if you're going to rent or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true, true, true.
All right. What about those owning pros?
Okay,
All right. How about you go first this time?
I can
What's
do
some
that.
pros?
I can do that because I think it ties right into the what we were just talking about as far as the equity. Because when you do own as opposed to rent, then you can build that equity over time, like what I just described. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost some people think of it as a form of forced savings, like without you actually taking money out of your check and putting it aside, you actually still grow money because it's in the context of the equity that's in your home. Oh, and so just I know that's another one of those terms that maybe not everybody would be familiar with, but equity is the difference between what you owe on your house and how much your house is worth. So like when I gave my example of, let's just keep it, even. I bought the house for 200 and now it's worth 300. So it, like, if I owe 200 right now, which I don't, but if I did owe 200 right now, that would mean I have $100,000 worth of equity in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, even though it didn't come out of my account, I didn't, have to eat ramen noodles for 5 years.
In order to get there.
Right. But I'm still able, there's this money now that is available to me if I want to use it, I can take it out of my house in the form of an equity loan, or like how Dion made reference to, a cash out refinance. So it's like a form of savings, even without you really doing it. You're saving this, this money. You have a pool of money now that would be available to you by, being able to take it out. You're borrowing it, of course, but technically it's still your money, because it's the
Yeah.
it's like you buy. It's almost like you borrow from yourself. But
Right.
but yeah, it's a form of savings. The other thing would be, we made reference to one of the cons as far as the change in the rent, how a landlord can change it. So the opposite of that would be that when you're home, you have a fixed rate mortgage. That's mostly what people get. Usually people are not, really aching to adjustable rate mortgages. We don't do them that much, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
People
think a
like
lot of people, a
stability.
lot of people over the years would got scared of those.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, because just like HELOCs, ARMs are one of those products that you need to be a little bit more savvy, understand how it works. And also, just one of the things that we talk about in general with home ownership, you have to be prepared. You have to have a plan. So if you're going to get into an arm, that means that, for 1 year, 3 year, usually like 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, you have a fixed rate, right? But then after that, the rate is able to adjust. You have to be prepared for that adjustment period. So are you going to refinance before that adjustment period hits? Are you going to, are you comfortable and risque enough where you'll just take your chances and see what happens? Will the, interest rate go up, or will the interest rate go down, or will
Yeah.
it stay the same? So that is something you definitely have to prepare for. But you could always just go the more stable way and get a fixed rate mortgage, and then that way you don't have to be concerned. So I don't have control over everything within the context of the monthly mortgage payment, but I definitely have some kind of say so over the principal and the interest. So those things will not change. Now your home insurance or your taxes, especially if you're in Crook County, those can change.
Right.
Your principal, your interest will stay the same.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Okay.
Um. Another pro is for owning a home is that you can have some tax deductions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So things have changed over the years, so it's best to talk to a CPA about it when
Yeah,
you're preparing your taxes and stuff, to make sure that you are getting the most benefits from owning a home. So a lot
absolutely.
of a lot of times people do their own taxes, and some of the softwares are easy to help you do them now.
That's
But right, but talk to a CPA and see and get more understanding from it. But the benefit is, when a lot of times people owe money for taxes,
mm-hmm.
and so a lot of people say, hey, you should now go buy a house, and so then the house will help you with some of your deductions as far as lowering how much you owe for your
Yeah,
taxes.
because we don't want to recommend you steal nobody kids. But go ahead.
Exactly. Right, right, right. So, and we don't want to do that as well. All right. And then the other thing is, when it's your space, you can customize your space for you how you want it, right? I had a tenant. I have rental property, so I had a tenant, and my tenant um wanted to paint everything black.
Black.
Yes. No.
Did you do right? Did you do like Simon? It's a no for me.
Right, right. So those are, but it's your house, it's your own home. You can paint the walls how you want to. You can do any changes that you want when you're the homeowner.
So that's
Um,
when you told her, "Hey, listen, I love that idea. Here's my card. I'm also a real estate agent. I will find you a house where you can paint your walls black."
Paint them all you want, paint with everything you want, do whatever
All
you
right.
want.
You can do
Mhm.
rainbows, unicorns, whatever you like. You can get
Right.
whatever you like.
Yes. So though, that's definitely, it's your space. Do what you want. You can fix your basement. You can paint the walls any colors you want to. You can
Absolutely.
tear down walls. You
That's
may
true.
you might feel like you want a larger bedroom and two bedrooms are right next to each other. You
Hmm.
could tear one of the walls down, and then now you can have you a huge master suite.
There you go.
Because why? It's your home. It's yours. You could do what you want to do with it.
Absolutely.
Mhm. All right.
And um,
You gonna go?
well, yeah, I was just gonna say because this last one, I know we wrote down some of these things, but the last one we really kind of already talked about. Just with when we talked about property appreciation, and we didn't really touch on wealth growth, but it is a way for you to be able to grow your wealth because but that's gonna be more than just owning the home, but that's also going to be, you being a little bit more savvy about how you handle your money, always thinking in the mindset that we constantly tell you as far as being prepared and thinking, 5, 10, 20 years down the line, what do you want things to look like, so that way you can start to make some different decisions because now you have more behind you to help you be able to do some of the things that you probably, a lot of times when I've met people that are renters, they really kind of feel like they can't get ahead. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everything is kind of, hand to mouth, or especially now when, so many places they're charging $2,000, $2,500 for rent. My mortgage is not even that much. My mortgage is not even $1,500. So I mean, I couldn't imagine, being somebody paying 2,000, 2,500 for rent. So you do have the opportunity, once you are in a house and you gone with what we talked about, the pro of, forcing that savings. Now what are you gonna do with it?
Right.
You got some money in your house, what you gonna do with it? Maybe you might want to, equity line of credit so you can use that to invest, or use
Mm-hmm.
it, to buy another property, or you know what I mean? Like that. Now you have options. You have some options that you didn't have before. So
Right. And we kind of talked about wealth and using and having shared space, because
we
when
did.
you're purchasing, you don't always have to purchase as a single family home, although you
Mhm.
could do shared space with a single family home too. But you can, maybe buy you a multi-unit building, and then you can then become the landlord,
There you
have the, right, and
go.
you can have your tenants pay you rent, increase your wealth, and take the money that you're receiving from your tenants and use that to purchase more properties for yourself.
Sounds
So
like a good idea to me.
yeah, yeah. So there's always, definitely, when you're into home ownership, there is definitely opportunities for wealth for you. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, let's see. There's some cons of owning a home too.
Not a whole lot, just a couple.
Right. There's some cons, but one of the cons Lisa and I talk about all the time, right? To prevent this con, right?
Hmm.
So we tell you to plan, prepare. And we talk about this all the time, like making sure that you have your upfront costs, your down payment costs, your closing costs, your inspection. In the beginning of the transactions, there's at least three things that you need when purchasing a home. So
Yeah,
you have to have at least $1,000 for earnest money. You
plan
have
on
to have a home
it.
inspection, and then you have to have an appraisal.
Yep.
And so sometimes that will be about $2,000. It depends on the property.
Yeah.
Um, but in general, we could get away with $2,000 upfront beginning costs that
Yep.
you need. So the con is that you need some time. No, you do need that money. You at least need $2,000.
Definitely.
Right. You at
Count
least
on
need
it.
2,000, because there's some different down payment assistance programs that we're familiar with that can help you with your closing costs and things like
Right.
that. But you need some upfront money.
You do. Yep.
Got to have a
Absolutely.
little skin in the game.
Gotta have something. That's right.
The other thing is, we talked about it as well, which is maintenance. So as a homeowner, you're responsible for the maintenance, or at least finding somebody that could do the maintenance for you, right?
Hmm.
Right. So
Right, because you don't want to be out there in that 95-degree weather.
yeah, right. So Lisa and I can always refer you to some people, some of our preferred vendors that we work with that we know
Yeah.
do great job as far as helping you. But you are responsible for the maintenance of your property and making sure the upkeep, so that when you get ready to sell and purchase the next property, you've already well maintained your property, and we don't have to worry about a lot of repairs that are needed.
There you go.
Mhm.
Now, another con to owning would be that it's kind of a little less low mobility. You can't just get up and go. You know, you,
Yeah,
you have to be prepared. And again, there's that P word. Preparation is so important in every and this, you guys, is not just important in a home buying transaction or a real estate investment transaction. It's important for life. This is just, you want to think of your life as this being something, you're here to live it to the best of your ability. So be prepared for what can come next. You should always be looking ahead for what's going to come next. So you are less mobile. You can't just pick up and go. You have to think about what you're going to do, plan, for how much time that it may potentially take in order for you to sell the house if you're thinking about moving. And then also, I alluded earlier to the fact that there's these two things I'm not able to control when it comes to the cost of home ownership. So that would be
right.
your property taxes as well as your homeowner's insurance premiums. I don't have any control over that. Now, with the property taxes, sometimes, these counties, they're not perfect. So, you may see that you had a rise in taxes or whatever, and you might find out that you don't have an exemption that you
Yeah,
qualify for. I've seen people that, they contested their taxes, thinking like seems high or, whatever, and then found out that they were actually owed a refund.
yeah,
So then the county had to send them back a check in the mail. So that's always possible too. But also homeowners insurance. Now, homeowners insurance, insurance has gone up over the years. So there's definitely no denying that. Since the pandemic, I don't know, people seem to have come out of the pandemic. They forgot how to drive, I guess, because they was inside so long. Everybody having all these accidents. We shut down State Farm in the whole state of California. I mean, it was some crazy stuff in the insurance field. But though that is a cost that it can change. Your
yeah,
premium could go up. And just a little tidbit for you people too that are not really familiar with how insurance works. If you submit a claim, even if it doesn't get paid, it still counts against you. So
mm,
something to keep in mind. If it's something, I just had this conversation with my oldest son just a few weeks ago because this is about his car, not about a home. But he said, "Oh, well, I was going to just do it through the insurance," and I said, "Why? Your deductible that you're going to have to pay is almost as much as what you would be paying for the actual repair. So you're going to pay more than what the insurance is going to pay. You're
right.
going to pay
Over time.
$1,000, yeah, and then they only going to pay like 300. You might as well just go ahead and pay the 1,300 and not get that what you call it on your,
Yeah.
not get that
A
on your
ding.
record. Yeah,
Right.
yes. So you got
Yeah.
to understand how it works. But the good
But
thing about insurance is that it is also something where there's more than one insurance company. And if the insurance company that you have has increased their rates to a degree where you feel like it's a bit too much for you to handle, we can shop. Just go look someplace else. Maybe a
yeah,
different carrier has something better.
yeah. We just actually changed our insurance. Like we had been looking using the same insurer for 20 years, right?
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Y'all
and
loyal.
right. Well, yeah, my husband was loyal, so but
Mhm.
after a while, he was looking at car insurance. I said, "Well, you need to throw the house in there too, but I'd probably give you a discount."
That makes
And
sense.
so eventually, so they did, and it actually worked
Oh,
out.
nice. Okay.
Right. So there's different things in order to make sure that you kind of manage your insurance, and making sure that it's not as a large amount that you have to pay. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, those are things that are kind of variables. They can move in price, whereas a fixed mortgage rate is actually fixed, and so your
Right.
monthly is the same, but the amount of the tax could actually go up or down, right?
It
So.
can. Yep.
Mhm. Right, because you
Absolutely.
always got to make sure you pay attention to those exemptions.
Yeah.
So, one of the things to say is if you plan on staying in your house over 3 years as a renter, you should probably look into purchasing a home, right?
Mhm.
So we've seen a lot of people over the years that have told us, "Oh, well, I've been renting this place for 15 years."
15 years. And let's do the numbers on that. Oh my goodness.
15 years. And do you understand that a typical mortgage is like 30 years? And if you make one extra payment on a mortgage per year, you can decrease your number of years. So you wouldn't be
Yep.
paying 30 years. You could
Probably
be
around 23. If you
right.
do, yeah.
Just
Probably that's
so
the
just
average,
by
I think.
right, just by adding one extra payment. So those are, and you've stayed in as a renter paying somebody else's mortgage for 15 years where you could have been doing your own.
Yep.
So, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So,
So the last couple of things in that I think is probably good to, focus on is that um if you are thinking about buying, obviously, we encourage that decision if it's the best decision for you. But you do want to look at, your credit. Obviously, you can do a consultation with me for the financial part, looking at your credit, your assets, your income. Do a calculation based upon those real numbers as to, what things really look like for you. And then, make a decision from there. Is that something that are you ready to take on this project, ready to take on this next step in your life. So,
yeah. So we say schedule a planning session with us. Have Take a time to discuss with us your interests as far as purchasing a home. You may not want to purchase this year. You may want to purchase in 2 to 3 years. And we could,
yeah,
like Lisa was just saying, we can help you plan for that and make sure that you're ready when the time is right. So
yeah, yeah,
my name
absolutely.
is Dion Branch with the Lord Dream Home, and this is my phone number. You can always call me and ask any questions. And right,
And this is Lisa J. White with Nexa Mortgage. That is my phone number where we can talk about credit, income, assets, everything financial to get you ready for your home buying journey.
right. So give us a call. Let us know that you saw us on Water Cooler Wednesday. We'd love to talk to you. Love to talk to you.
All
All right.
right. But
All
we
right.
did another one. Woohoo!
Yes, we're so excited. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.